First of all, I try not to idolize anyone. Anything, you should idolize yourself. You should be like, I'm going to become my own idol. Definitely draw inspiration from people, but don't view them as superior.
Do you still read your comment? Do you get any hate messages?
But my YouTube audience is so supportive and so positive.
What would you rate your mental health right now out of 10?
That's a great question. I'm going to give it...
And we're in. Hello, chaps. Welcome to Masculine Medicine. I've got my good friend here, Rob Lipset, as you can see. Absolutely honored to have this guy in the podcast today. Absolute legend. Been following his fitness journey for many years now. But this guy doesn't really need an introduction. We don't need to sit here and reel it all off. He'll give you his own introduction in a second. And at the end, you'll find out where to find him. But he's across all the platforms. He's been smashing it in the fitness industry for many years. And of course, what we should start with is how you and I met, which was extremely...
Bro, so Ralph, first of all, thanks so much for having me on. Like, I love starting my day with a podcast, or just having it included in my day because it gets me talking, it puts me in a good mood. And I think it's one of the only times in today's day and age where people, this is so depressing, where people sit down with no phone and they have a chat. The fact that we've got to resort to podcast to do that says it all. But no, look, I'm delighted. So thanks so much for having me on. And how we met, oh my God, it was a chance encounter in a Target in Miami.
It was so random.
I was with my girlfriend and we had literally just landed. So I was wrecked. And we met in it was something like the sour candy aisle.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't look at me. I'm not meant to be here. I'm in the protein shake aisle. I got lost. Why am I here?
I know.
And I think we started chatting over one of our mutual friends. You invited me to a party in Miami. We kept running into each other on South Beach. So very much a funny chance encounter.
Mate, it was classic. I should have got the camera out and been like, this is Rob Lipset buying candy. Guys, this guy's a fake. He's a fake. Run ads on that video all day. Yeah, no, it's not. And then what was interesting is we bumped into each other. It was a CVS, actually. Yeah. And then the next day, I took your details. I was like, all right, cool, mate. I'll see you. I'm connected here. I live here. And the next day I was walking on the beach and I see you again. Yeah. And that was unplanned. I was like, right, it's meant to be. I meant to see this chap. And then he's going to come to this party that I'm DJing at tonight. And I didn't tell you I was DJing.
Yeah.
I was like, come to this party. You turned up to the party and then you see me spinning DJing. You're like, who are you?
Yeah. I was like, of course, maybe he's just joking. He's like, oh, I'm DJing at it. And I'm like, does that mean he's just going to go press play? And I was like, no, this guy's like Superman. He does everything. Oh, yeah, that was a great party as well. Super cool venue. It was like a warehouse art gallery type thing.
Yeah. Well, I got in there with the crowd, mate. Like I said, I've got your back anytime you're in the States.
Nice.
So anyway,
I'll be back in Miami in March, actually, because I'm going to a wedding, Christian Guzman's wedding in the Caymans. And so to get there, I've either got to get a connection in New York or Miami. And when I get a connection, I like to do 2 days there or something. I hate getting just mad amounts of flights. And, hey, any excuse. So I think I'll go to Miami for a few days before and after.
Fantastic. I think you will, mate. So that clears up how we met. So I just want to know, I'm always interested in how someone's upbringing began. So we can obviously tell you're Irish from the accent, but where did it all start for you? Where were you born and raised?
So I was born and raised in Dublin City, which is pretty much the only part of Ireland. I'll get killed for that. It's the biggest city in Ireland. Nah, I'm just joking. Actually, the kind of if I was to suggest to someone who's visiting Ireland, I would say go down to the country, like Galway, Cork, Kerry, to really get that true, green everywhere experience. But Dublin's the main city anyways. And so that's where I was born and raised. And, I went to school in a place in Kildare. It's just a little bit outside Dublin, but that was a boarding school. And so, I went to boarding school for 6 years, played a lot of rugby and it was after school where I kind of, made a name for myself in fitness. But growing up in Ireland, it was a lot of fun. I really liked it. And, I'm very lucky to have a good upbringing. And I think it's it's a really good education system there. It's a nice place to grow up. But of course, then afterwards, you got to travel. So yeah, I went to like a really good school. It's like a preppy school and everything. But I also like was kind of a bit of a class clown, bit of a joker. Mm-hmm. And like I'd get in a lot of trouble. And even outside of school, I'd hang out with kind of a little bit of a rougher crowd. So, I'd get in like a lot of fights and everything, and I'd be drinking a lot and stay out late. And, I was definitely kind of like a messer and had a messy upbringing. But then, later on in my life, when I found fitness, it kind of straightened me out a little bit.
Fair enough. Brilliant. And how is it that you got started in the fitness industry? What was like the initial kickoff? Were you going to the gym as a younger kid? Was there a person in your life that brought you into the industry? There's usually something that kicks people off into this game. What was it for you that got you started in fitness?
For sure. So, like I said, I played rugby with my school at like a pretty high level. I was pretty good. And so, everyone was just mad into it. And this is quite funny, right? It's a funny era. We all wanted to get bigger. Okay, nowadays, everyone on TikTok and Instagram, all the kids are all cutting down and they're like chronically dieting when they're not even fully developed. Like their bones haven't even finished growing. They're like stunting their growth for an Instagram ab selfie. And so now, back in my day when I started, that trend wasn't really a thing. We would just like watch rugby players and, we'd be like, oh, let's just bulk and get as big as possible. So I was actually like, there's an old picture of me, like I had no abs, I was pretty stocky, but that's worked in my favor because then, so rugby is what got me into the gym. And so that worked in my favor. I would just go to the gym, I'd play loads of rugby, and I just wanted to get as big as possible. I would look at the scales and I'd be like, oh, I want the scales to go up, up, up. And then so when I finished school, that's when I kind of fell in love with weight training. I said, I'm not that good at rugby. I'm not going to be a professional, but I'm really good at the strength and conditioning. I'm really enjoying that. I'm really seeing a lot of results in that. So when I finished school, I kind of gave all my commitment to the gym. And that's when, I built up a good foundation. I was pretty strong. And that's when I started watching guys like Z's and Greg Plitt. And I kind of like discovered like aesthetics and, cutting down and everything. And so that's when I went on my first cut and kind of like, revealed all the muscle I had been building over the last couple of years. And it looked good, it looked good at the time. And that's when I kind of fell in love with manipulating my body composition and learning about training and nutrition.
I think you did a great job, mate, because when we look at you now on your Instagram pictures, you are ripped to shreds, mate.
There's a good 14 years there, so.
Yeah, I know, right? When people think it's like, oh, I can get in the gym and do this over a few months. It's like, mate, I've been training for 16 years. You've been training for 14 years. Ask Mike Thurston. He was probably in the gym at 12 up in Newcastle.
Mike was so jacked at 12. If you've seen like his genetics, like, pictures of him as a kid, it's crazy.
Mike's chest is like the most ridiculous chest you've ever seen on the planet. Like nobody can get that chest. You can go to the gym for 40 years and you wouldn't have a chest as crafted as he does.
Yeah,
so I think he's very
it's
well
just
known.
Like the way you look at like basketball players and they're like, 6'8", it's just some people have genetics, some people have weird color eyes. Some people have, just genetic differences with them. And, that's something that we'll probably talk about later when it comes to like bodybuilding and your potential is, you just get these genetic outliers.
Yeah. I want to move on here. And since we're talking about Mike Thurston, I'm a big fan and I know you guys are friends.
Yeah, we're meeting. I'm going to Dubai tomorrow. So I'm going to meet Mike I think he's skiing at the moment, but I'm there for the full month. So we're going to hang out, get a podcast in.
Fantastic. So the last podcast I watched was Mike and Chris Williamson. Of course, Chris is absolutely smashing it as well. Yeah. And Mike said that he doesn't check his social media comments anymore, right? He's tired of checking them. He's done with all that. He's getting someone else to read them because he read a lot of hate and a lot of people are like, yeah, roids plus hard work, roids.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, given your large social media following, do you still read your comments and do you still respond to them? And do you read every single one? And if so, do you get any hate messages?
Yeah. So on certain platforms, I do. For example, I don't log into TikTok. I think it's just the most brain dead app ever. I've never gone on TikTok for half an hour and been like, oh, I feel great after that. Oh, that was a productive half hour. Really good. And I was like, this app is just numbs my brain. So I hire someone to do that, repurpose my content, log in and post for me. And funny, like I don't even look at it. Whereas if I go on YouTube for like 2 hours and watch like a podcast or an interview with a billionaire who's like literally giving you his secrets for free.
Exactly.
The information on YouTube is just insane. Like you can literally watch like psychology lectures if you want. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So whereas if I watch like 2 hours of YouTube, I always feel great afterwards, especially because I search good things. So my recommendations are all solid. So therefore, I'm on YouTube a lot. I'll read my comments on YouTube. I usually post my videos. I do have an editor as well. But my YouTube audience is so supportive and so positive because I've built. So first of all, right, my audience is 90% male. Guys in their 20s and 30s, and who want to get jacked and make money and travel. That's my niche. That's my avatar. That's my people. So I've built my audience on positivity, going to the gym, and self-improvement. And like I even talk about it, I'm like, guys, if you're leaving hateful comments on the internet, you're a fucking loser, and they're like, and they're like, agree. So like no one even bothered, like, yeah, you get the odd spam, hey, you're a wanker, whatever, but nothing serious. So I get very little hate from my own audience. Whereas like there's actual like gossip channels that, have built their following on negativity, and then they will get a lot of hate, lay down with the dogs and wake up with fleas. So I'm very lucky that my audience is very positive and very supporting. Instagram, it's more or less the same. When a video or reel goes viral and hits the Explorer and you get like a new audience, you'll get some hate. But nothing I've really taken notice of, especially because I've been in this game so long. I've been slowly exposed to it over time. That I've kind of built up a tolerance to it. Whereas I know a lot of people who, for example, let's say they go on Love Island, they go into the villa, whatever, or any big show, they get their phone taken off them. They come outside after a few weeks. They've got 5 million followers.
Oh, God.
And they get their phone given back to them. And they're like, what the hell is going on? So that is just a sharp contrast, and they're not used to it. And their mental health doesn't take it well. They don't know how to handle it. So I've, built up my following very slowly over time. So yeah, I'm kind of used to it.
You posted something on Threads yesterday that I read. You said short form content is like a disease. It was negative, and you said long form content. Yeah, short form content is junk food, and long form content is what, like healthy, nutritious,
fine dining. I'm like, but no, it's so true. Like listening to a podcast like this, or some long form content on YouTube, it's just. I listen to it constantly throughout the day, always something positive. Like today, I woke up, I was making my coffee, put on some Tony Robbins in the background, right? He was doing an interview with Theo Von. So it was fucking hilarious and also motivational as well. And so I'm always just listening to that. I'm getting ready for my day. Just got my haircut. See that fresh fade? Nice. I cycle down. I want to look good for you. I cycle down to get my hair cut. I'm always listening to this. It's like positive reinforcement constantly. Whereas like if I'm lying on my side, doom scrolling, just absolute 5 seconds of 100 videos of crap. It's just like, it's actually like getting a drive-through.
Completely. And actually, I've been sitting down with a bunch of IG strategists, and do you know what they said to me? The most recent IG strategist said to me, think about your short form content like this. You're selling crack to babies. I was like, what a horrible way to think about start building a business. He's like, you've got to start off with the hook, the first 3 seconds, tell them what it's all about. And he's like, the more extreme the title, the better it is. So don't have a title like How to Find a Beautiful Woman. Be like, you're a loser, you'll never find one. And that's more likely to get the views. I'm like, mate, that's what a horrible way to build a business. But your YouTube videos can be a lot more like, you can be yourself, you can be authentic, as you say, you can have these conversations rather than I don't want to sell crack to babies, man. You know, it's like, it's just,
yeah, you know what? It's so fickle, right? If I'm doing like just a topic about fitness on a reel, if I like flash my physique in the first 3 seconds in the hook, like me looking shredded, oh, now people will listen to me.
exactly.
Like, what am I, a piece of meat?
Yeah,
yeah, but
absolutely.
it's so fickle, and you know, you got to play the game, of course. But it's funny how, like, yeah, you know, you're selling crack to babies, you got to hook people in. And what made you like go just all of a sudden start to go on this kind of social media campaign for yourself? You know, you're putting out just a lot more content than you previously were.
Yeah, mate. So like, my career was always, I started in investment banking because
Yeah.
I went to Imperial College. I went to a good uni. I had a good upbringing. I had wonderful parents. My dad was very strict. My dad was like, you're going to get into business. You're going to be a doctor, lawyer, or an accountant. That's it. There's no other choice. At 13 years old, I wanted to be an actor and a singer because I was a fantastic actor and a fantastic singer. Try telling my dad that at 13. He was like, good one, son. You're very funny. Ha ha ha. Yeah, good. Now back to the economics degree. And I'm like, Dad, come on, I'm really good at this stuff. He's like, I don't want to hear it. You're not going to be a starving artist. So I had to go through the investment banking curve, did all of that. Luckily enough, I started a bunch of different businesses. Now, a lot of them failed at the beginning, but I ended up working for Google in Dublin, in Grand Canal Dock.
Oh yeah, my God, Silicon Docs. That's it.
Silicon Docs,
yeah, yeah.
That's where I worked for 2 years. Now, that company changed my life entirely. I was like, wow, this company actually treats me well. Mate, you should have seen it. Mini kitchens, 5 restaurants, swimming pool, gym, nap room, vitamin D room, psychiatrist,
what?
just in case you were... Mate, there was a psychiatrist in case you were not feeling too good that day. So I went from investment banking, people shouting at you, calling you all sorts of names. The trading floor was absolutely toxic. I mean, we were swearing, shut up, mate, do that. I don't give a shit. Give me the price, slam the floor. One time someone threw a phone at my head because I put my head down for 2 seconds to write something, and he dashed the landline, not a mobile phone, picked up the whole landline, ripped it out of the sockets, and threw it across the desk.
With the wires attached, like a flail.
It was like swinging around everywhere.
Like you swung it around and threw that.
Oh, it was wild, man. It was wild. So I never enjoyed the time in investment banking. Then, as I started a bunch of businesses, one of the tech businesses I raised money for, it didn't work out too well, and Google got in touch with me. And they were like, look, we like your profile and we want to give you a shot. So I did 7 interviews for them, and then they ended up saying to me, you have to move to Dublin. I was like, oh, it's a big life change, that one. I was like, do you know what? I'll give it a shot. I was broke, absolutely broke at 25 years old, so I had to take the job. Then after Dublin, after Google, I started a digital marketing agency, and I smashed it for 4 years. I absolutely smashed it. The heavens above blessed me with millions of dollars. So that worked out really beautifully. And then that started to tail off because I started noticing my life is not meant to be me looking at digital marketing campaigns all day long. This is boring. I'm not a geek. Throughout all of that ride, since I was 16 years old, I've been hitting the gym hard. And I've been smashing the gym, and I'd like to think I've got a good body, not quite as ripped as you are.
I was checking you out on the beach. You're in great shape.
We're all comparing and judging each other in that moment. Like, is he more jacked than me? I don't know.
Eyeing each other up like animals.
Yeah, literally. So anyway, I've always been into fitness, and also what I've also noticed is I've always enjoyed talking to my boys about their dating issues, or their life issues, or their fitness issues, or their diet issues. And to all of them, it always seemed like hard work. They're like, mate, I can't get jacked. I'm always eating this garbage. Like, how do you make it look so easy? And then also when we're on holiday, it's like, how come you're the one that gets the girls? And like, we have to work a little bit harder for it. So some of these things came quite natural to me, i.e. fitness, knowing what to eat, the dating scene. And I was like, I'm tired of investment banking. I'm tired of these businesses. I want to spend my life doing something that I enjoy every single day. So I asked myself, what do I enjoy doing every single day? And the answers were training like an animal in the gym, cooking some healthy, beautiful food, because I love that, making content, because I'm a natural behind a camera, and I'm always confident. I'm never like nervous about it. And the fourth one is approaching girls and understanding girls and helping other men who are not very good in the dating scene. I could do those 4 things all day long without getting paid, without getting bored. Hence me hiring an agency now and saying, right, this is what we're doing. We're going full blown. I'm going to produce content on fitness and dating. These are the 2 niches I'm going to pick, and we're going to post every single day until I'm dead.
Nice. So the agency owner has become the agency user now. Full circle. That no, but I've noticed, you just completely picked up the pace, and I'm loving all the content as well. Pretty much everything I'm
Thanks, mate.
interested in too. And look, when you were listing out all those things, I was like, that's the best life in the world, training hard, cooking, traveling, and helping other guys. Yeah, that's the most fulfilling thing you can do. So,
Absolutely.
I see what you mean there. And date it's so, look, I'm sure we'll get on to this, but the dating thing as well. So obviously I'm in a very long-term relationship now as well. But before that, I was also in a long-term relationship. I'm a relationship guy. And then, we broke up and I was like single for maybe 3 or 4 years. And I had to go on this like red pill pickup journey because like a heroic mission, because I was in a relationship for so long and I actually forgot how to talk to women. I swear to God. And so I'm like, we break up, I'm about like 25, 26. And I'm just thrown out into the world and I had to relearn everything. So I watched like a ton of it was brilliant. So I watched like a load of RSD, do you know them?
Yeah, Real Social Dynamics.
Yeah, I watched loads of them and just like whoever they would have on, Tyler, so funny. And, it's just a really funny world. Obviously, take it with a pinch of salt because you can go down the black pill pretty easily, and it can get a little bit MGTOW, but it's all just really about improve the way you actually, my advice on how to get girls, get your dream girl, any girl you want, is just work on yourself like a fucking madman. Create just the ultimate lifestyle setup that girls will just be like, can I come on this journey? Like, this is just looks so fun. I'm like, I'm going to the Maldives next week. Do you want to go? That's the first date I brought my fiance on, was the Maldives.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah. So, if you just create yourself a sick life, then, that you'll have no problem with it. And I remember actually as well, it was like the week after I first became single. Oh my God, you could smell the desperation off me. I was like going up, just begging and like, DMing and everything. I got it so wrong. And that's when I just took a step back and I was like, I'm actually not going to go out now for like 3 or 4 months. I'm just going to work on myself, work on my business, stay in, get myself in mentally the best shape and physically the best shape. And then everything just falls into place.
Mate, you're absolutely spot on. And I love that because fitness and dating are intertwined.
It's
like
they're so.
You know what I mean?
Come on, we all go to the gym, get girls. Like, stop lying. Yeah. I do it for myself. No, you don't.
Nah, lies. Precisely. It's funny you say that. When I was 21, I went on this documentary, and it was based on the book The Game by Neil Strauss.
Yes.
Right, which you might be familiar with.
Of course.
And this guy I just finished uni, and he was like, look, mate, forget the job. We're going to study this book for 3 months. We're going to go out there and we're going to test all these strategies on girls. I was like, oh, all right, this sounds interesting. So I read the book and I was like, bloody hell, the book's actually brilliant.
Yeah, of course.
And then we'd go out that summer and we'd try it with the girls. And yeah, we'd definitely have some level of success. But when it came to actually finding like an amazing girlfriend or getting a super high level cracking model, that wasn't really working.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is it? And then at that point I realized, mate, there's only so far that game can go. You actually have to be the man that's desirable.
Yeah.
Fit, ripped, you've got money, you've got status, you've got charisma, you've got confidence. You need an array of different skills. I call it being a full stack man.
Yeah.
So just walking around giving it game because you're great with the chat. Mate, if you look like Mike Thurston, you don't need that much chat, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you can get these dorks, these nerds going around. They've studied like they're in a book game for years, and it's like they've got no real life experience, and they don't have it. They've spent all this time reading a book instead of going out and living life, and it's like that can only get you so far. So you've got to have a great lifestyle. You've got to kind of just, be a full stack man, as you said. And one thing that you forgot in your list there that you were naming off, freedom. That's one thing. If you don't have kind of the time of day to be able to be like, hey, I'm traveling. Hey, I'll go here. Hey, let's go away for the weekend. I've noticed freedom is the ultimate one as well.
Top, absolute facts. That brings us on to the next question, actually, because I wrote, since we're both massive travelers and we both have the level of freedom to travel wherever we want, Where are some of your favorite places on the planet that you visited?
So, like I just said, the Maldives is got to be one of those places where you go and you're just like, is this a video game? Is this real? It's got a high barrier to entry. Like every resort is very expensive to go to for a week. Flights are always very expensive. I've always flown from Gatwick. You get a direct flight from there, but you can do some connections. But it's very high barrier to entry. Like the trip is usually going to cost you like 10 grand for the week.
Wow.
But you go and it's just like you actually disconnect because you cannot leave. You're on an island and you literally cannot leave. You can't go to the shops or the town or the bar. You're just on this island. You're forced to disconnect, go with a beautiful girl, forget about life for a week, drink wine and champagne every day, go for long walks on the beach. And it's the only time I've actually felt I'm on a proper holiday because, like, for example, when I go to Dubai tomorrow, I'll be doing podcasts. I'll be doing YouTube every day. I'll be working nonstop on my laptop. I'll be going to the gym, taking pre-workout. It'll just be pretty normal. Even when I go to Ibiza or I live in Marbella, it just all kind of seems similar. But when I go to like the Maldives, it's just like a proper holiday. And so up there as well, that I went this year, I went to Positano and Capri for the first time. I always love going somewhere with my girlfriend for the first time, like somewhere that we both haven't been. And so, yeah, we went to Positano and Capri, and that was just like a week where I kind of cleared my schedule and said, like, there's no gyms there either, like no one's there to lift. And like, right. I'm not going to worry about my diet this week. I'm just going to really clock off. And that was a magical experience, especially Capri. Capri, there's just like something in the air. It's just like you feel like you're in like the 90s or something. Like it's just such a vibe. And then next on the list, I love Mykonos and Santorini, so Greek islands. Just give me an island life and just, then I'm good to go.
Fantastic. Anywhere on the bucket list that you want to visit that you still haven't visited yet?
So I'm actually really excited to go to the Grand Caymans in March. I've never been to the Caribbean ever. So we might actually do like, a few islands like Barbados, or I've probably got the geography completely wrong. Probably nothing close. And I'm like, hop over, island hopping. But I want to do like some little areas around there. So that's top of my list. And maybe Hawaii as well, even though I've heard mixed things. Bora Bora would be cool, but apparently it's just like a different version of the Maldives. But and then there's actually one. Oh, I also read this is like pretty easy to do. It's like an hour for me, but I've never been. I've heard it's like the best city in Europe is Lisbon.
Yeah, same. I've never been either.
I've never been. It's like literally everyone tells me it's like the best place in Europe they've ever been to. So yeah, I'm dying to go. It's like a 40-minute flight. I think I could drive from our
I know.
But yeah, I've just never been. Yeah.
Before I get on to my next question, it was interesting that you said that your first date with your current, is it fiance or girlfriend?
Yeah, fiance, sorry. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Congratulations.
Yeah, so in Capri is actually where I popped the question. So.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, so yeah, it just compelled me to do it. So nice it is.
Clearly, she was never going to say no in Capri, was she?
No, not a hope in hell.
So just getting onto that, you said that the first date or the first trip was taking Linda over to Maldives. Is that right? Can you just talk us through, for most of the guys out there thinking how they get a gorgeous girlfriend, gorgeous fiance, which obviously Linda is, and a great girl.
Yep.
How did you maneuver that? Was that actually like your first date, or did you build up to the point where you took her to the Maldives?
Yeah, so that was an exaggeration. It was our first trip. It was our first trip, and we'd only been with each other for like a month or two. So basically, we met through mutual friends, not online, which I'm very proud of, because
nice.
That's kind of rare nowadays. Let's be honest, And while I'm not totally against it, of course, it's just better to, meet in person. And so she's Irish as well. And we've known off each other for years. We have like so many mutual friends, but we just never cross paths. I'd always be traveling around. And so I was throwing a house party one night in Dublin, an after party. And our friends were like, hey, can we bring up Linda Smith? And I was like, yes, you can. And just the moment she walked in, we just hit it off and started dating after that. And so we were dating about a month or two, and I actually had a collaboration with a Maldives hotel. So like I was either going to have to go on my own or bring her. So I was like, hey, look, you can come or you can not come, but I'm going to the Maldives in like 2 weeks. Do you want to go? I was like, the timing on this is impeccable. So yeah, that was technically our first trip, and it was an amazing trip. Like, so how do I say this? Obviously, when you first get with someone, it's super exciting. It's the honeymoon phase. You know, you throw a trip to the Maldives on top of that, and you're just like, you're falling in love. You know?
Clearly.
Yeah, guaranteed. So that was a dope time. But so in terms of like how to meet, you know, a high quality female, mutual friends is always social network or social. Yeah, what's the word for not like, I don't mean social media, but like your social group. Like mutual friends is always a great way to do it, and just have a sick lifestyle that they'll want to be part of.
I tell you, it's funny you say that. That's an amazing story, and fair play. You took the girl to Maldives 2 weeks after meeting her. She's not going to say no to that. It's like, oh, I've got a collaboration with this ridiculous hotel, which sits on like wood logs.
Yeah,
you fancy this trip by any chance? She must have been like, what? I've just literally struck gold.
Yeah.
It's funny because I actually met my ex-Irish girlfriend. She's about 2 or 3 girlfriends before the most recent one at Copperface Jack's in Dublin.
Oh, no. No way. So anyone that is not Irish that is listening to this right now, they'll be like, what? It's how would I describe it? It's the best, worst bar club in Dublin. It's like
in the world, mate.
Yeah, in the world. It's just a wild place. It's a wild place.
Yeah. It's apparently the most profitable club in Europe as well because it's busy every single night.
Yeah, I've heard that, and I don't doubt it at all.
It's just where everyone ends up, basically. For the viewers that don't know, Copperface Jack's in Dublin, it's just like if you're drunk on a night out in Dublin and it's 1 a.m, you don't know where to go, everyone just goes to Copperface Jack's. Yeah. It's just where you go. And it's sticky floors, Backstreet Boys, Spice Girls playing at the end of the night, and you're snogging someone who you don't even know what she looks like at that point.
Perfectly described, yeah.
Yeah. But I happened to meet a fantastic Irish girl at Copperface Jack's, to which I went out with for 6 months. So it was the most unusual place. But again, you know, dating apps weren't so prevalent back then, and I was proud of meeting girls out and about in the old school way. It's more traditional. It feels a bit more romantic. These days, it's just like, oh, let me find a girlfriend. Swipe, 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 swipe. And then, oh, she's not good. Had a date with her, wasn't too satisfied. Swipe, 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 swipe. I'm not a big fan of it. So,
no, for sure.
You're lucky you've got a gorgeous fiance. You don't have to deal with the garbage that most men have to deal with nowadays.
Yeah, and I think even nowadays, you tend to people look at their relationship as it's more disposable. Like they are just able to, like you said, swipe up. Hey, I'm not really feeling this girl I'm dating. And instead of giving them a chance, they're just on to the next one. And girls are even more savage in that front. Girls will be like, oh, there's like an NFL player in my DMs. I'm just going to go off with him. You know, like it's dating scene is way tougher now than it was even 5 years ago.
Definitely. 100%, because the everyday girl I'm in Budapest, Hungary right now. If there's a 10 out of 10 and she's in the village somewhere, and there's plenty of 10 out of 10s around here, I'll tell you, and she's in a village somewhere, and she just so happens to open up an Instagram and put up a few posts, she's getting invited everywhere from anywhere around the world. Like, Thurston's hitting her up, like, come to Dubai.
Like, especially they put a geotag on, you know, they put like Bucharest, Romania. They'll go to the top of that. Like when someone clicks on Romania, they'll see her page and they'll just get swiped up. And it's so crazy nowadays. Like, so speaking of the Maldives, you'll see a girl in the Maldives. She's got no job. She doesn't have a 9-to-5. She doesn't own a business. She's in a private jet, and then she's in the Maldives, and she's not showing who she's there with. And this is commonplace. And I'm like, the math isn't mathing. I'm like, where'd you get 10K to go here for the week? And, you know, it's just she's been swiped up by some dude.
Yeah. And I mean, listen, mate, I live in Miami Beach, and that place is rife with older, wealthy men, 60, 70-year-old men, who are rich as hell, who have literally hired people to jump on Instagram and DM girls on their behalf. That's how wealthy these men are. They're like,
Is
right, I
that
want you to
true?
DM
Because
me.
I've heard that rumor, but is that actually, do people actually do that? Like they actually give them the
Mate,
logins?
people are building teams around finding them women. Like literally, you got like head strategists, like and then like head DM guy, and then like this guy adjusts all of his lines and makes sure like he responds with the correct things. Dude, there are teams being built around like inviting girls to where you live, and this is mainly like wealthy men who are lonely and a bit older, and just want to find and just want to be sugar daddies. And so, living in Miami, the amount of sugar baby girls that I've come across who do nothing but just pose on the beach all day, posting Instagram pictures. But the guy is never in any of their stories or never in any of their posts. So she keeps all of that under wraps.
Yeah.
But so that's what's happening out there.
It's kind of depressing. It's quite a depressing existence. And it's going to come back and bite them in the arse, no pun intended, in a couple of years when they've got no experience and they don't want to be a sugar baby anymore. So it's a strange time to be alive and super strange time for the dating market, and definitely hard for women as well.
Sure, but don't you think that if you were one of these hot girls, you would take the options? I mean, if they're throwing at you, of course you're going to take the trip.
Yeah, it's hard to say no. And Joe, what I think is even more difficult, right? So let's say you get these girls and they're like 21. They got college debt. They got this flipping burgers, working in shitty jobs. And they get like some OnlyFans management DMs them. They're like, hey, just start an OnlyFans. We'll help you manage it. It's going to be fine. Yeah. You'll make $100,000 per month. Like we all hate on OnlyFans, but it's hard to say no to that, especially if you're a young, impressionable female.
Completely. Absolutely. I mean, what are you going to do? Be like, oh, no, actually, I'm going to go get a law job in London and take the train every morning on the underground and get blasted. Or I could just jump on OnlyFans once a week and get flown out to Dubai. So,
I know.
I mean, I don't blame these girls. If they're given that kind of option, you're going to take that option. And they say you're as faithful as your options. So it is. You're absolutely right. We've been talking about dating for 20 minutes now because it's such a prevalent thing in today's world, and because it's such a challenge for the modern man, for the average man, in fact, to get a hot date because he's just getting overtaken by the NFL players, the Robs and the Ralphs of this world who are just free to go anywhere they want, anytime. And it's actually the lifestyle, like you said, the freedom, the lifestyle, which attracts girls. They're like, oh, this guy gets to fly around the world all over the place. What a dream that is. All of a sudden, being an investment banker in London earning $300K is not good enough. It's not cool enough.
Yes, that's so true. And another thing as well to add to that list, just before we move on, is physique. Okay, people think, oh, girls want the dad bod. They don't care about being jacked. Women are biologically attracted to a healthy male. And muscle, it's someone who's going to protect them and be strong. That's another big factor as well. So fellas, if you're listening, do not trust the dad bod propaganda. Okay, it's BS.
Exactly, I agree. You and I would say that, wouldn't we? Yeah. Because we've got the bodies. And the dad bods are like, no, we should be fine. You're always going to support your cause. But as you say, you can tell when you're on the beach who's getting the attention. Yeah. Let's be honest. When you're walking down Miami Beach or Dubai, the dad bod's not getting the attention, mate. No. It's Rob, it's Mike, it's Ralph walking down the beach. Mike's chest is in your face. You can't even you can't even not see it. You can't even not see that thing. No. But we'll swiftly move on to fitness now that we've dealt with a lot of the diet stuff. So, mate, I want to ask you a question, and some of this stuff gets personal because people want to know how you look as ripped as you are. You're absolutely shredded. And my question is, how strict are you with your diet? Do you give yourself any cheat days, or are you like absolutely regimented, even though you've got this body now, so you wouldn't need to be as strict as others?
So there's a bit of a story time around here. When I first started out, quite a young lad, 18, 19, 20, in that era where like I was just first trying to get ripped, I didn't take the time to research properly on how to do it, how to diet down properly and take an evidence-based approach. And I simply just cut out carbs. I was like, oh, right, carbs are bad. I'll cut out carbs and I'll lose fat. And so, of course, because by default, if you cut out an entire food group, your calories are going to get very low. So I was in a severe calorie deficit and I got ripped. I said, this is great. Of course, you can't sustain that. And so I went on holidays or something, and I started eating carbs again, and I ballooned back up again. And it kind of gave me pretty much an eating disorder, because I took such an extreme, rigid approach. And then I was fluctuating in weight so much. I was gaining and losing my abs and everything, which is not healthy either to fluctuate often. So I said, okay, look, I need to understand everything behind body composition. I need to understand everything behind fat loss and muscle gain, what works and what's legit. Of course, you can still eat carbs and diet down. And there's actually research to show that having a more sustainable diet and being less rigid is actually going to give you better long-term results. And so it's going to result in less binge eating as well. So when people, they cut out entire food groups, they're too strict on themselves. They say, no, I can't have pizza or ice cream, and they don't follow a flexible diet. Whether you realize it or not, you're going to end up binging. You're going to end up just caving one day. And that huge spike, it's like, consider eating something you love every day. It's like taking one step backward, but 2 steps forward. You think you're like, oh God, no, I need to go harder, but it's actually going to be better in the long run for you. So I learned about all this, and I said, if I'm going to be able to stay lean year round and, not balloon up, then I'm going to have to incorporate a flexible diet. And so I learned all about that. There's some amazing books and researchers, like just read anything by Alan Aragon or Lyle McDonald. Brad Schoenfeld is amazing as well, or the Rob Lipsett Game Plan, best-selling fitness book in Ireland, available on Amazon. And, any of that, and you'll learn to take a much more sustainable approach.
You're absolutely right. And I noticed that with myself recently, where I was so I do intermittent fasting.
Me too, yeah.
Yeah. And I noticed I came to Budapest and I started getting a lot of headaches in the morning. So I'd be about 14, 15 hours into my fast, and I was like, I'm getting this weird hunger headache right here. It's killing me. What's going on here? So I went and got a blood sugar test, a glucose test, got my results the next day, and they said to me, your blood sugar is low in the morning. And I was like, oh, is that like diabetes or something? They're like, it's actually the opposite to diabetes. You're not getting enough glucose into your body. So what she recommended me was to take a teaspoon of honey in the morning, or to be like, get some honey into your coffee, eat a banana, so that your blood sugar's sinking too low. Now, for years during my intermittent fast, I was completely fine. I was in good shape. I never got the headaches. But here, for some reason, maybe it's the cold weather, maybe my body needs more calories. You have to sort of adjust your diet depending on how you're feeling, because one diet doesn't completely fit everyone.
Oh no!
But you're spot on there. So I had to adjust it. So now I'm like, in the morning, I'm like, do I just have like some massive steak or something, because I've got this headache now? So there's sort of constant adjustment, as you say. But the other thing is, do you set yourself a cheat day on one day of the week, or do you eat a dessert at a restaurant on a Wednesday in Marbella because you fancy it?
Yeah, so I try to eat something I love every single day. And so that gives me, it doesn't give me the feeling to need a cheat day. I don't have a day I'm looking forward to. Like, let's say I want something, ice cream, a burger. You can just have that every day. Like nowadays, with the amount of recipes available, like online, like my whole Instagram feed is like these macro-friendly recipes. If there's anything you're craving, you can make it for 600 calories. You can fit it in, whatever it may be. So if I'm just craving anything, I'll just make it myself. I'll fit it into my diet. And this leads me to not wanting to have these big blowout binges. I used to be like that. And then I just kind of learned how to incorporate it regularly, and it stops me feeling the need to. Of course, there's some days where I'm like, there's a certain restaurant I want to go to, and I just want to eat large amounts, but they're very far and few between.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what you're saying is make the healthy version of a dessert. Let's say you want an ice cream, you'd probably find a way to make like a healthier ice cream with a bit of protein in there. Or
exactly, yeah. I have like a Ninja Creamy ice cream maker. They're insane. Like I have one every single day. So I literally have like ice cream every day, and it's a game changer. Yeah, it's really good.
Man, it sounds like the dream, to be fair. It's fantastic. Okay, brilliant. Let's move on. I want to know, and this is something I always ask people who I've been following for years. Who are the biggest inspirational people in your life right now, whether it be online, whether it be in the past? There's so much content online. There's so many different types of characters. Is there anyone who's inspiring you at the moment?
For sure. So First of all, I try not to idolize anyone, and I recommend people don't do the same. They don't put people on a pedestal. If anything, you should idolize yourself. Like you should be that guy. You should be like, I'm going to become my own idol. So I think it can be kind of strange when you like look up to certain people and kind of look at them like a god, but definitely draw inspiration from people. But don't view them as superior to you, or else you'll never get to that level. So that's the first thing I'll say. But so guys that I listen to a lot, you know, podcasts, people in my industry. Of course, I love Joe Rogan. You know, I just could listen to him all day. Lex Friedman, another great example. Andrew Huberman, Jocko Willink. One of my favorite books is Extreme Ownership. Guys in my industry: Christian Guzman, Max Tuning, Mike Thurston, Steve Cook. I've followed him since he had like 2,000 followers. You know, a lot of guys in my industry that I watched them at the start, and now they're my friends. So that's one thing I'm really proud of as well. But there's just there's a lot of people that I draw inspiration from, but I recommend that you don't idolize anyone.
That's fantastic advice, mate. That really is fantastic advice. I say to people, be as authentic and original as possible, because no one can copy you. You're completely unique. All the listeners, every single human is completely unique in their own right. So as you say, you can draw inspiration, but just be your own version of yourself. And I think what happened with this whole Andrew Tate era and all the 16, 17-year-olds is like everything. Every time I read a comment on my thing, it's like, oh, not another Andrew Tate. It's like, I'm trying. You know what I mean? They're all. He's just set that tone. So anyone that's trying to give advice is just like, or is doing it a bit aggressively, is on short form is an Andrew Tate imposter.
It's like, oh, he's showing a bit of enthusiasm. Andrew Tate. Yeah, I've found that a few of them. I posted a video on TikTok, or well, I guess I didn't post it. My editor did on TikTok or something, and I got the typical Andrew Tate comment because I was talking about, you know, how to escape the matrix or how to live a life of freedom. As simple as that. And then people will start saying, oh, Andrew Tate. But it's just funny how, yeah, he's completely like, you know, brainwashed all these younger kids to thinking like this is the only way. But I do like Andrew Tate. You know, I think he's a funny guy, him and his brother. We've got some mutual friends. You know, Mike has said he's a great guy in person. And I like his overall message. I think it's positive.
I completely agree. I'm actually in Bucharest next month working for the whole month, and I'm good friends with Andrew Tate's friend, Justin Waller.
Oh, yeah. He's good.
He's been smashing it online, really. He's like blown up on social media over the past year. Yeah. So I'm going to try and meet the Tate brothers in Bucharest through Justin. I'm like, mate, can you hook me up with the Tates? I want to go to that mansion of theirs, maybe do a cheeky podcast with them and have a training session and just have a laugh.
And what brings you to Romania? You know, why Romania of all places?
I've got a couple of best friends that live there. I'm just doing a different city every month this year. You know, so it's like, it's Budapest in January, it's Bucharest in February. I might come back to Budapest. I've met a girl and I really like it here. Nice. April's going to be Dubrovnik in Croatia. So every month I'm going to go somewhere new. Why Bucharest? Couple of best friends. The girls are gorgeous. Yep. I'll be completely honest, no point ever lying in this stuff.
Yep.
And I'm going to film my first fitness course at a big gym there. And I found good videographers. And what I'm finding with these Eastern European countries is you find actually really good quality labor for a cheap value price. The same videographer in Miami would cost me $5,000.
Oh, bro, videographers are pricey, man. Like that shit adds up. You're better off just training in your girlfriend how to use a good camera. God, honestly, that's what I do.
Yeah. Oh, fair enough. Yeah, you said actually, because I've been having problems with videographers out here in Budapest. It's like, you know, you're having to keep chopping and changing them. But when you're around here, because the value's so good, I'm not paying extortionate amounts of money, then it's fine. You can have a couple of them. You can have a harem and a whole team around you. And you're like, oh, this is all right. You know, I'm feeling all good. In America, you're the only guy in the gym holding your phone, like, trying to do a one-arm shoulder press because it's too expensive to hire someone.
Kicking over your tripod. And what's the reason behind like moving location every month?
Again, I like being honest with my listeners. So I moved to Miami Beach. I got an Alien of Extraordinary Ability green card to the US.
Oh,
so I got the EB1A, which is the green card version of the O1. The O1's the visa, the EB1A is the green card version. So I said, cool, I'll move to the States. It's the best country in the world. It's where I can build my business. It's where I can raise more capital. And I'm in the investment world. So I thought this is the right place for me to be. Yeah. Then I landed in Miami and I thought, maybe I'm not as rich as I thought I was. I was like, oh God, like these boys are killing it here. This $10 million villa, this $20 million yacht, a night out, a date with a girl, standard night out, glass of wine here and there, $300-400. Gone.
Easy. I experienced it. I went to this place, Bowley,
Bowley,
in South Beach. And so this is quite funny, actually. So I knew whoever does the PR there, and they're like, hey, we'd like to invite you in. We'll give you like €150 voucher, and just go and enjoy dinner. I was like, brilliant. All right. I was like, all right, Linda, we're going to Bowley, whatever it's called. And so we go in, and I was like, oh yeah, we got a voucher, or order whatever. And we're there ordering so much shit, like drinks and everything. And I was like, oh yeah, it'll be like 50 quid or whatever. And they bring the bill over. It's $500. I go, wait, is this with the voucher? And they go, yeah, it would have been $650.
Oh God.
I was like, what the fuck? God. And then they were like, tip. Oh my God, the tipping culture there is insane. But it's without a doubt the most expensive place I've been to in my entire life. I'm not a cheap guy. I live in Marbella. It's a similar vibe. It's a punch in the face in Miami. It's like that extra,
Completely.
Yeah.
So that was one reason. One is that it's extortionately expensive. And the second reason is that, I'm cracking on with age now and I've had a lot of fun in my life with different girls. I'm not a relationship guy. I'm the opposite to you. I have had 5 girlfriends. I've loved 3 girls in my life, but I like being independent and single. I get a lot of rush from meeting different girls. God, I hope that the Hungarian girl doesn't listen to this podcast after me saying that. But, and so I wanted to find a woman with good values. And when you come to the Eastern world over here, they're more feminine. They actually respect men.
Oh, for sure.
And they're more appreciative of these little things. So in Miami, if I'm taking the girl out to a $300 date, she's got another date tomorrow and the day after and the day after and the day after and the day after.
Bro,
and she's been to that restaurant.
Yeah, like she's eating out every night.
No, 100%. And it's like she's been to this restaurant 7 times this month. So it's not special with you anymore. Whether it's you take a nice Hungarian girl to a half-decent restaurant and feed her some beef goulash, she's like...
From grill.
She's like, wow, this man is so wonderful. He's looking after me, so masculine. He must be wealthy. And it's cost me like €75, that meal.
God. I want to go to
So that's why. Yeah, so I'm here for the value, and I'm here to also find a good quality woman, potential wife. We'll see how that pans out.
Yeah, for sure. I always say, me and Linda were talking about this, like she's Irish, so we get the same humor and banter and everything. But there's also kind of, it's a very old school country, Ireland is, and so you get that more traditional value that you mentioned. Like, I'm not sure if I could, and obviously I have dated people from America and the UK and everything, but yeah, like you said, you want just kind of a more traditional woman the older you get, who has the same values as you.
Sure. Here's a question for you, and this is not even on the list. This sort of just popped up in my head. Do you want children anytime soon?
Oh, man, absolutely. Like, so the only reason I did a podcast with Linda, actually, and one of the questions was, why would you guys get married? It's the men often get screwed over. It's just a piece of paper. You're involving the government. I know all this shit, right? The main reason is because I want to have kids and bring them into a safe, committed environment. I think there is even research to show that kids in a married relationship in a nuclear family do better. I don't think do we even need research for that? Well, there is, anyways. And so that's the main reason that I'm getting married, is to have kids. I want to have, I'm Robert Lipsett the 3rd. I want to have Robert Lipsett the 4th. So my dad's called Rob Lipsett, my granddad's called Rob Lipsett, all of them. All Rob Lipsett, so I want to keep the legacy going. Game of Thrones. But and Linda as well, she's dying to have kids too. So, that's why we're getting married, because we want to bring them into a nice environment. But yeah, I think there's nothing, the masculine urge to have a son. Obviously, if I have a daughter, I love her too. But of course, I absolutely do want to have kids. What about you?
Oh, I don't know the answer to that question. I would say that right now I'm not ready for children.
Yeah.
Right now I'm not ready for children. I love my freedom. Um, I also need to find the right woman. That would be helpful. That is step one after all. So I don't think I'm ready for kids right now.
Yeah.
I love my freedom, and this has become my mission and my goal, my business. And my brothers have kids, so I've got 5 nephews, and I feel like they're my children. So if I never have children, at least I've got 5 kids to look after, 5 lads, which is like a little army.
Yeah.
And my brothers did say that your purpose changes once you have children.
That's
all
right.
This business and this money and this traveling, all of a sudden it becomes whatever he wants or whatever she wants is what they're going to get. So my brother's like a bloody personal driver to football clubs now every evening because he loves his kids and that's the purpose. And that does scare me slightly. I don't think I've matured enough to think that I'm going to put all of my love and care into a little one because I'm at the moment, I'll be honest, I'm still quite selfish with the things that I want.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't jump from a new city every single month once I have kids.
Yeah, absolutely not. And I think like there's a few requirements. Like I think ideally you want to know your girl for at least 2 to 3 years before you do that. The longer, the better, really. I think it's good if you have a house, like a nice base as well, with plenty of rooms to bring them up with, good solid career. So I think there's a few boxes that you need to tick, like before you decide on it. But I think, I think from judging by what everyone says, it's like one of the meanings of life.
Absolutely. Yeah, it does seem to be the case. I want to know, Rob, what does your future look like? Do you envision what your future is going to look like? Do you have plans? Do you dream? Do you still dream? I mean, you've already achieved so much in your life, mate, which is, very impressive. But what does it look like for you moving forward?
So I often ask myself the same question. And if you were to tell me a decade ago that, I'd be living in Marbella in a big villa with the beautiful blonde wife and the white picket fence and the white car, I wouldn't believe you. So I really don't know. Like, I really can't plan for it because I know life changes so drastically. Even some of the opportunities and things that I do now, 3 years ago, I wouldn't have even imagined it to be like this. So I try not to get too caught up on like having this concrete future that I'm like, oh, I have to do this or it'll fail. I like to go with the flow a little bit. But honestly, this is something that people say to me, especially like older people. They're like, oh, do you think you're going to be doing what you're doing forever? And I'm like, yeah. I'm going to be doing fucking fitness, helping other guys, putting content out on social media. All the podcasters I follow are all in their 50s. Fucking Joe Rogan, Gary Vee, Jordan Peterson, like Huberman. I'm like, men only have a clue what's going on when they're like 40 and 50. I turned 32 last week, literally 6 days ago. And so I feel I'm only getting started. I feel I've only kind of figured out how life is working the last 2 years. So I'm interested to see where I end up when I'm 42. I know it's going to be a good place. I know I'm going to be doing something similar. I've been doing what I'm doing for 10 years now, and I want to do it for another 10 years. But there's going to be some crazy opportunities that don't even exist yet that are going to happen to me.
I mean, what a cracking answer again. There's so many gems that people could pick up from this podcast today, in the sense that you want to keep doing what you're doing every single day for the rest of your life because you love doing it.
Yeah, and that's the key.
And when you asked me at the beginning of this and you said to me like, so how come you've started posting on social media all of a sudden? Because this is what I want to do every single day of my life. And I don't get bored of talking about it. I mean, you and I could sit on this podcast if we really wanted for hours and we wouldn't get bored of talking about fitness, diet and dating. It'd just be reel off the next question and off we go.
We should make it a weekly thing.
Yeah, exactly. Just hours in a room.
One thing as well that I'm glad that you're doing, I'm glad to see that you're growing this personal brand of yours. I almost hate to admit it and I hate to say it, but it's just the God honest truth. If you're not utilizing social media to your advantage nowadays, you're missing out big time. You can either be a consumer or a creator. Best be a creator.
Definitely. I 100% agree with that. And most people are consumers because they're swiping and they're addicts and they're getting that dopamine hit.
Yeah.
And what you need to do actually to the listeners to become a creator is you've got to turn it all off. You've got to actually, I don't look at people's stories on Instagram anymore, mate. I don't watch people's stories. Yeah. It doesn't make me feel good. So my rule now is post. And then once I've done all the posting for the day, at the end of the evening, I can do a 10, 20-minute creep if I like on Instagram, Facebook, or whatever it is. But as you said, TikTok makes me stupid. Instagram, slightly less stupid. Yeah, YouTube educates me, makes me feel good about myself, learn new things about these. So if you're going to consume anything, it's definitely going to be consuming YouTube. And if you want to be a creator, you got to turn off the noise. Because there's just so much garbage out there.
Yeah, you don't need to see other people's coffee. you can be doing your own thing.
Yeah, completely. Okay, mate. Well, look, again, like I said, I could literally talk to you for absolutely hours, but we've hit the hour mark, and I've got a final question I want to ask you because I want to keep it short and tidy. And I'm sure we'll do many more of these in the future because we'll have new topics of conversation. As I've said, you and I wouldn't get bored of talking about this stuff. This is a personal question, but what would you rate your mental health right now out of 10?
That's a great question. I'm going to give it, I've had a particularly good month. Just by this month, I'll give it like an 8.5. I would, to be honest, I would like to give it a 9 or 10, but I just don't think anything is ever like perfect. I think that would just be slightly dishonest. But particularly, this has been a great month for me. January is always kind of the best time of the year for business and productivity, which, especially if you're in the fitness industry, which just makes me happy. I'm uploading a lot on YouTube again, which is, I'm very passionate about. That makes me happy. And I'm just kind of, living the monk mode in life. I'm not going out much, and, I'm just on track with everything. I've got a nice holiday tomorrow. So it's been a great month, but there's been months where it would be 5 out of 10 or 6 out of 10. So it really depends on when you ask me. But right now, definitely 8.59 out of 10.
That's fantastic. And the months where it's a 5 or a 6, people would be shocked to hear that given what you have in life, given that you have, I thought you'd say maybe there's a day or two where you'd get 5 or 6, but has there actually been months where you'd say it was a 5 or a 6?
Yeah, well, not like, months, maybe just like, 3 or 4 weeks, but there's definitely like, months where I'm just like, I feel nothing's clicking, I can't get into a state of flow. I'm not being productive enough. I'm going out too much and I'm not on track on my journey. The way men get depressed and the way they get aimless is when they're not working towards their North Star, is when they're not working towards their goal. If you have a fucking goal and you are running towards it, you're too busy to even feel bad. You're too busy to even get distracted. And that's when your mental health is great because you're just focused on this positive thing and you're going forward. It's when you're laying around and you're stagnating and you're not productive, that's when the bad feels kick in.
100%. Even if you've got the money, because I remember when I actually made my money and I started traveling and I started sitting on the beach sipping pina coladas, smoking the occasional weed when someone passed it on, I didn't feel great about myself, mate. I was like, I've got money in the bank. I don't need to work. I'm relaxed. And I was like, what am I doing with myself? I've got no purpose. I'm just sitting on this beach trying to look good. So it actually just felt completely pointless. And as you said, following that North Star. So would you say that it's imperative for a man to find his purpose or his mission or his North Star in order for him to feel good? Or do you think that he could just get paid an average job, an average salary, watch a football game at night, eat wherever he wants to eat, and still be happy? Or do you think a man needs to find his North Star in order to be truly satisfied in this life?
Piss off a few people with the answer. But you look, there's always, the majority of people will do the latter. Okay, just that's just a fact of the matter. But if you want to live a life a little bit less ordinary, you want a little bit more from yourself, well, then the former is going to be your answer. Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Fantastic, mate. Well, I'll tell you what, it's been a wonderful hour. I've thoroughly enjoyed interviewing you and having a two-way conversation. And I hope to see you in Marbella over the summer if you're going to be there. Is that your base now? You live in Marbella, you've got your house. Are you a Spanish resident?
Yeah. So when you buy a property over $500,000, you automatically get a Spanish residency. So I got all that. And so I'm here most of the year. I'm probably be gone in August. I rented the place out last August because it's just too crazy here. And August is like peak season; you get crazy money for it. But yeah, I'll be here every time. Apart from that, I'm obviously in Dubai for this month. But yeah, I'll be here most of the time. You should definitely do out of your months. You know the way you do a month different every place.
Yeah.
Do a month here, man. You'd absolutely love it. It's like the Miami of Europe, just not as extreme.
Yeah, okay. That sounds brilliant. And also to finish off, is there any particular sort of products or books that you have right now that you want to tell the listeners about that you're particularly promoting?
Just go on to YouTube, Rob Lipsett, and you'll find everything about me.
Fantastic. All right, my man. Well, listen, mate, thanks very much for everything. And I'll see you either in Marbella, and I hope we do this more in the future. And I'm sure this has been massively helpful to the young guys that are listening in today.
Yeah, really enjoyed it, Ralph. Thanks so much.
Cheers, Rob. Thanks, mate.